Why is the sky blue and why is water wet?
Why is the sky blue and why is the water wet? I mean, I don't really know that.
Okay,
That's my
stop,
perception.
stop,
I,
stop,
yeah.
stop, stop. That's one of the things we have a gripe about is people just saying they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know is a
Your
fabulous
first instinct was, I don't know.
Yeah, fabulous.
Stop there.
Well, there was a second part to that. I was gonna say, as far as why the color is and why it feels wet, I don't know, but it's my perception of what it is. So that perception is gonna be different for everybody.
That's what
Right.
that's what we were alluding
And that's
to.
what we
Blue
were,
and
that's,
icy.
yeah, we were linking to that. We were linking to sometimes man just needs to say, I don't know.
And your perception of things is exactly that. Your perception.
Your perception. And so if we did this in today's society, it would be a better society because we can't have the answers for everything. You know what I mean? So you'd be surprised how many people we ask questions to and they are intent on letting ego find an answer. You know what I mean? Like they look, even if it's not true, they look for an answer just to feed you some bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Now, we do know why the sky is actually blue because of the atmosphere and the hue and how, but the bigger picture is, but why is it blue? Why do you perceive it to be blue? How come it just can't be a different color like blood purple or some shit? Just throwing it out there. You know what I mean? Like that's what I perceive. You perceive it as blue, but my perception is totally different.
I just like asking that question for an icebreaker.
You know what? Blue for you, it might not look like blue for me.
Exactly.
But we know it's blue because this is the color
we commonly
that
agree
we
on.
were told it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that humanity commonly agrees on.
Right.
Blue for you, purple, it might look purple in your reality, but it looks blue in mine because that's the name we have given it.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Colorblind people don't know color.
No.
Yeah, see, both of my kids are colorblind.
Oh, they
So
are.
how do we know we're not even seeing the same thing?
Right.
When you see blue and I see blue, we're not seeing the same thing.
Mm-mm.
Hang on right there. Welcome back to the podcast.
Oh.
And today we have a very special guest. A light traveler of the stars. A easy stepper through the galaxy.
A figure outer.
A figure inner.
This man, we've known Monk back when he had an alias, when he was a different form of himself. Monk was known to us as Joe, but back then we were all young. We were kids. I think we were like 13.
Yeah, about 13.
Maybe 13, 12, just and our older brother
had just got out of the Navy.
Just got out of the Navy, or he was currently still in. Monk, do you remember if he was still in the Navy?
He was out at that time.
He was out.
Okay, he was out at that time.
Right.
So it's funny because we knew this person as something totally different, which he's going to tell you. But we have come back in connection full circle because of our older brother, Will.
That in the universe.
Yeah, that in the universe. Yeah. He said, you remember Joe? I'm back in contact with him. I think you guys are like of similar nature as far as our thought process, and gave me Monk's information. So it's funny how yesterday we all rekindled this relationship and found out that we were actually on the same life path and journey.
When Will said, "Do you remember Joe?" I said, "Yeah, the dude with the red Kool-Aid stains on his lips."
Yeah, which we'll go further into that.
That's the Joe I remember.
Right.
But we had only bumped shoulders. I didn't know the man Joe. I had no idea who this. I just knew him from coming around, hanging around Will, and that was all the information I had on him at the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure we had more conversation about him.
Maybe, but nothing I can remember or slightly retain.
Right.
So I find it funny now that, and we'll hear from Monk himself, but I just find it funny that the universe can put us in situations to merely rub shoulders with an individual, and then you'll see him 15 years, he or she 15 years down the road.
I think it's been almost like 28 years, man.
Whatever.
27 years.
I mean,
Just
it's been
crazy.
a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how we just come back full circle, but not only full circle, but on the same enlightenment, like
Right.
on the same path.
Yeah. So without further ado, Monk, start off by telling us, where's your road headed? Where was it?
Where was it, or where is it headed?
Both. Like where was it? Give us some history on where it was.
Yeah, who is Monk?
Where it currently
So,
is and where it's headed. What are you trying to manifest?
Okay, let me start from back when I was a child, because we know that everything happens the way we believe, the way we are programmed happens at an early age, even before childhood. So when you grow up in that dysfunctional atmosphere, poverty. My dad died when I was 3.5 years old, and I never had a father figure after that. Just poverty and dysfunction. On top of that, indoctrinated with religion. And that's a whole nother thing, because those two things, they oppose each other. So you go to church, you learn one thing, and then you come home and you see the other. So they're contradictions. So you grow up confused, without guidance. And for a while, I was stealing at 5 years old. I tried to stab my brother at 6 years old. I was a very wild child, I have to say. And then I got to the age where I understood religion and the punishment that came with it, right? Because my mom did the best she could. She tried to keep us on the straight and narrow, so she took us to church all the time. So I realized what the consequences of my behavior was going to be. But instead of changing my heart, I changed because I was fearful. Anytime we make a decision out of fear, it's not the right decision. We're making an emotional decision. But I did that. I started to be I was better behaved, I'd have to say. So, and then eventually I was fully indoctrinated. Eventually I was fully in, like, telling other people they're going to go to hell if they don't change their ways. This is how programming works. You're fully invested in this story that you're given, even though you're seeing all this dysfunction as well. So at 17 years old, I was still in church, maybe 16 or 17. And then when the hormones started kicking in, and I started thinking about, some of the rules that church had that said things you couldn't do. My hormones are going crazy, right? So one of the things you're not supposed to do is have relationships with women unless you're married, right? So at this point, I'm tired of walking on eggshells. So I went from 17 years old in church to 18 and a half or 19 years old selling crack and having a drinking problem in that short time span. I was living out both of those programs. I just lived out the religious one, and then now I'm living out the dysfunctional one. So I'm going to give you a little backstory on how I got my name. I believe we have a government name, everybody does, but we have a real name. And I now understand why when people change their life, the name changes with it, because names carry energy. So the backstory on the name is, I was in Oakland, living in Oakland. I've been living in Oakland for a while at this point. And I was meeting new people, because when your vibration changes, your frequency changes, you attract different people into your life. And this girl that I know, she said, what do you do? And I was like, what do you mean? What do I do? She said, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you meditate all the time, you're a vegan, you're like a monk or something. She said, you're like an urban monk. And I thought that was funny. We both laughed at it, right? But urban monk, that was a cool little name, urban monk. I said, okay. When I left, I go, she doesn't really know my old lifestyle, like what I really used to do. She doesn't know that. She has no idea. All she sees is this different person in front of her. She didn't know that I had a drinking problem. She didn't know I used to carry guns. She didn't know I used to sell drugs. She didn't know any of that. And I was like, my life has literally changed. Like I've been born again. All the things that I thought I was now have been transmuted. And I'm starting to be who I really am at this point. So on social media, I changed my name to Urban Monk because I thought it was a cool name. But the crazy part is, and I don't know how it just evolved into people calling me Monk, because after a while they made me change that name. They kicked it off. They made me change that name on social media. They wouldn't let me use it, but that name remained. And for probably a decade now, this is what people have called me. Now I realize that names carry energy. So the only thing that was connecting me to my old lifestyle, the only thing that connected me to my old way of living and being and doing is what? It was that name. That name was tethered me from my dysfunctional life to the life I'm living now. So I was like, okay, that's not it. I need to let this name go. I need to let this energy go. And then the other name became my real name with a new energy. So anybody that calls me by my old name has to. I'm whipping my head around real quick because nobody knows me with that old name except for people that knew me from way back in the day, and I don't really associate with anybody from back in the day. So I'm looking around like who's trying to run up on me because they're saying this old name because nobody knows me like that anymore. But that's how that happened. So right now, I don't know where I'm going forward. I have an idea of where I'm going, and it always comes back to being of service. How might I best be at service? What can I do to make the biggest impact on people's lives? Because I know that when other people do better, I do better. And it's not a selfish thing. You just have an understanding when you two do better, I do better because collectively we do better. So I don't know where it's going to take me. I leave my options open at all times. I listen for that guidance at all times. It could be today I'm here in Phoenix, and tomorrow I'm out with you guys in a different state. It could be I'm on an island somewhere. It could be I'm in coast, whatever. I'm just gonna listen for that guidance.
Monk.
But where I came from,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. No, no. Go ahead. I think you're going to get ready to start answering something that I was wanting to know. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going back to where I came from. I just realized that, and everybody's programmed at some point, even if it's not a bad one, even if it's not a dysfunctional one, but everybody receives this program. And we are just trying our whole life to really figure out who we really are. And then most of the time we do it by searching for things outside of us. And you'll never find yourself outside of yourself. Every feeling that you've ever had, every experience you've ever had, everything has always been an internal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your outside world is a reflection of your inside world. So if there's chaos on the outside, there's chaos on the inside.
Hey, take us back into. I want to backtrack a little bit and get a little bit more in depth in what you were experiencing about the alcoholism and the selling drugs. Do you have some personal stories about that period? So if someone else is watching, they can learn how to navigate these waters.
Yeah, it was very interesting. My oldest son is about to be 32 years old. And when he was still in the hospital, just been born, I was selling cocaine. And back there in that time, it was 1992. Back there in that time, they were giving a lot of time out for just a little bit of drugs. Like they was locking cats away for barely anything. And I had a pocket full in possession for sale because I had it all bagged up. And I seen a police officer across the way, and I was like, okay, something don't seem right. So I said, I'm gonna go drop this off at my neighbor's house because something don't seem right. And I'm walking with a friend of mine, and next thing you know, like 5 cars, unmarked cars, regular cars, police cars, they come out from everywhere. And they pull their guns out and they have us all laying on the ground, on our stomachs. Do the whole thing, palms up, blah, 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 arms out. They come and handcuff us. They take him away. They give me a quick pat search. They put me in a car. They put him in a car. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they ran up on us like that so aggressively or whatever, right? But I know I have all these drugs on me. And I'm trying to pull them out of my pocket when they're not looking and kick them under the seat. And then, the spotlights on the police cars, poof, right on my face. So I just stopped what I was doing. But I was like, I'm going to prison on the day that my son is born, which is just unbelievable at this point. So they come back, open the door, and they said, someone had said that there were some guns out here, or you had some guns or something like that. And I said, you already searched me. I don't have any guns on me. You've already searched me. And I lived so close to where it happened, and I wanted to get them off of me. So I said, you can even search my house. So instead of keeping their attention on me and my body, I told them to go to search the house. And then they searched the house. There was nothing in there, and then they left. But there were so many occasions where I was playing with fire. Like I was taking penitentiary chances all the time. And I thought that I was getting away with something, but and I know you never get away with anything. The energy that you put out, what you're doing in your life, there's always a match to that that's going to come back to you. That's why doing something illegal for a living, you never have that satisfaction. There's always a bad energy connected to it. So at this time, I was drinking heavily all the time. It started out, alcoholism is kind of tricky because it starts out as just a social thing and then it ends up as being a crutch. And then, the dopamine hits and everything. Now, when you don't drink it, you feel like life is not even worth living. It's no fun. So every event, every barbecue, when it's sunny outside, whatever it is, you make an excuse to drink because this makes you feel alive. It keeps you in a false sense of presence. It's a false sense of presence where you don't worry about tomorrow and you're not concerned about yesterday. So you're really in the present moment, but it's a false sense of being present. So you're suppressing. You're not just being in the now, you're suppressing. So then you're using a drug. So when you wake up in the morning, all of that comes flooding back, right? So like I said, what you do, there's always something the equal and opposite coming on the other end. So for instance, the harder you go at night if you're drinking, the more you pay the next day. It's that simple. The harder you go, if you have a couple drinks, you ain't gonna pay that much the next day. If you drink all day that day into the night, you get up, you're gonna have a very large payment coming. Now, over time, you're gonna pay the ultimate price. You're gonna pay with your life. My dad died when he was 36 from his alcoholism, and I was on the same path. Everything that you do is going to have an equal and opposite to it. Everything, even light. There's no light, no dark. It's all on the same spectrum. Darkness is just absence of light. So when you turn down, the little lights where you can adjust them. When you start to turn it down, what happens? It just starts to get dimmer. It doesn't disappear. It's just on a different end of the spectrum, right? So everything affects everything. Everything is interconnected. So when this alcohol starts to take over your body, it starts to take over your mind, it starts to take over your soul. It really has a grip on you. And this is why it's so hard for anybody to listen out there to, once you have a certain relationship with a substance, it's so hard to kick it because it has all parts of you. It's not just like a shopping addiction, right? Where the shopping addiction doesn't have your body. You know what I'm saying? Like alcohol literally changes your brain and affects your body in a way where you're drinking poison every day. You're doing a slow kill on yourself. It affects your emotional body, your mental body, your physical body, and it disconnects you. You can never be fully disconnected to spirit, but your connection is very weak. The guidance is not there anymore. This has got a control of over all of you, all your different bodies. And the natives knew that. The natives knew that. It's like being possessed. Like the real you is taking a back seat to this you that you created. And I would be drinking right now to this day if it wasn't for what happened to me in Miami over 15 years ago. I would still be not living my purpose. I would still have no direction. I would still just be doing the same thing. I have 6 kids now. I'd probably have 15 kids now. Right? I would have been doing the same thing. I would still be the same behaviors. That I would still be thinking the same way about myself. I would still have the same insecurities. No direction, no purpose. But I really believe that higher self that's within all of us is always trying to get your attention. And a lot of times it's getting your attention through traumatic experiences, things that have to wake you up, things that really have to hit you hard to make you question, what are you doing and who am I? I was in Oakland one time and I just got done partying the night before. And I go back to this time because I didn't know what it was at the time. And I got up and I was in this person's house and they had a full length mirror. And I got up and I looked at myself and I didn't know who that was. Not because I looked messed up, not because I just didn't recognize that body, because we are not our body. I think it was my higher self trying to let me know, like, what you see right now, this is not really you. This is just what you're using. And I sat there for like 5 minutes looking at myself, like, and I started thinking about my name and how I grew up. And like, none of it seems real. Like, who are you? And that's the first time I started like asking myself that question, like, why did you end up here and why did you end up in this family and why do you look like that and what is your who are you, like, really, who are you? Then because I was fully in my alcoholism, I just kind of brushed it off and kept doing my thing. But that was really my higher self going, look, what you're doing right now, that's not you. Look deeper. But I didn't listen to God. I didn't listen to source. I didn't listen to the universe. I continued forward. And that night in Miami, still, after I got up in the morning, I was urinating blood that night. I actually went to the hospital out there because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I got back and I was sober for about 2 weeks. I'm like, I should be good now. And then I started again because life was too black and white. It had no meaning in my opinion because I wasn't getting those emotional highs that I was getting from alcohol. Everything was just boring. So I just kept doing my thing and I kept having the same result. You know what they say about doing the same thing over and over and expecting something to change? That's insanity. Expecting a different result. And it got to the point, man, where I was so anxious. I was so depressed because I was already depressed and anxious before this, but now I've got this bleeding thing going on. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So and then one night after a birthday party, and this is the only reason why I know the exact date when I stopped drinking, is because one night I went hard at a birthday party, and the next day I woke up and I said, I want to live. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get through this. Whatever I got to do, I'm gonna do this. That was the last time I told myself, that's it. You're not drinking anymore.
What was the significance behind the birthday party you think that made you want to change then and there versus the days prior? Do you recall
I
anything
think it
standing out?
started. I think it was an accumulation of me seeing this bleeding thing and just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Or do you want to go out and do you want to repeat the cycle that your father laid before you? Do you want to be this? And then you wake up, I'm just so hungover. I'm just like, no. It was just one of those aha, like, no. I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go out like my father. I'm not going to do this. I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know what was coming going forward, but I knew right now at this moment I wasn't going to do it.
Now,
I never went.
do you think a drug,
Well,
or was it just really your time to stop? Like, so do you think a drug would have helped you kick it faster, or despite the drug, you had to have been ready in that like mental state to get beyond the addiction?
yeah, I think we're all given opportunities, and it's whether we take that opportunity or not is that's free will. But we're being shown what it is in real time, and a lot of people that are addicted to drugs or alcohol, it's just too much healing, in their opinion, too much of facing everything they've been avoiding for 20 years or so. And so that's why some people, they will get this to the same place that I was at, and they will go, I'm not going to stop.
Hmm.
I'm going to continue on. It's too much for me. It's overwhelming to think about how many years I've wasted and what my life has turned into, and now have to deal with this sober. It's too overwhelming.
Right.
Imagine this. Imagine that you're on drugs for 20 years, and we'll pick meth as a drug of choice we're going to use right now. And your body, your teeth are gone, they're rotted out of your head. Your skin looks bad. You just look terrible. You done abandoned your kids. You did everything wrong in your life. And then you say, I want to kick this addiction. And now you start to sober up and you start to have a clear head. And then you look at yourself. And then you look at the damage with a clear head. You look at the damage that you've caused. And maybe your kids are on drugs now, and you know you were almost solely responsible for showing them this lifestyle. With a clear head, with a sober head, you got to look at this, the destruction that you caused, the hurt you you put on your mom, and the worry that she went through, and your parents. So that's a whole lot to deal with without that crutch. The crutch is what you usually dealt with, your stuff, right? So when I wasn't feeling okay, I had a crutch. That crutch was alcohol. Now it was my crutch that made me need a crutch. What do you do with that? How do you move forward? And at first, a forced stop has to happen. Healing doesn't happen overnight. So if you can get to the point where you can just force a stop, force a stop, just whatever you got to do, just don't do it.
Hmm.
You can get to a point where you can start to heal. And then you don't have to worry about relapsing. I believe the people in rehab, they go there, they want to do better. They know they shouldn't be drinking. They know they shouldn't be on drugs. They're doing it for their family. They're doing it for their kids. They're doing it for whoever. But they're not healing. It's a good idea to stop. Basically, is what they're going through.
Right. And
Healing has to take place
yeah.
in order for you to stay or remain sober.
Well, a lot of that is due to, as well as like, we do a lot of self-judging on ourselves. You don't need any external judging, because I think humans do a fabulous job of judging themselves. I judge myself. Why did I do that? Why did I do this? Now like you were saying, now I have to face what I did, and this is just another uh, good validating moment that even if we cross over, people are expecting to be judged by someone else, whether it be God, source, or whatever your coffee is. But you do enough judging on yourself, there is no need for like the God particle or the universe to judge, because you just done it. You know what I mean? And I think that's another thing on why it's hard with addiction, is what you're saying, is because now you have to face that self-judgment. You know, you holding yourself responsible and accountable for all this stuff. And that is a finicky game to play in the physical life. It is such a valuable lesson.
Yeah, I think we all have the proverbial Anubis in our heart, whether we're gonna weigh ourselves or see ourselves fall. So I mean, I think there's a constant balance of, you know, negative and positive light, negative thought, positive thought, um, success, and how that looks to a individual, and am I going about it wrong on how I get there? Did I take accountability for the people I've encountered in my life? You know, we all have that Anubis at heart. We're going to weigh ourselves and judge ourselves. I think it's not ultimately some overall grand scheme of you're not allowed to pass a certain threshold when you pass this planet. I think your spirit is going to allow you to go to a different dimension or stay in this one. It's not a judgment like that. I think literally your spirit knows when it can pass the door, and it knows that there's no one else like a gatekeeper saying you can't do until you do this, or I want something in return. That's still man-made ideation, you know? And I think until we can be honest with ourselves as humans and realize what we're going through are human things, and we all know that there is a better version of us that we're constantly trying to obtain, whether we're asleep behind the wheel or we're alive and well and we understand what's going on. That's always going to be a human deal.
Yeah.
And so I mean, with that being said, you have a amazing past, and I don't want to say it's none other than how we grew up. We all have a different polarity of our past, and it shaped us today. But the bigger question is, all that negativity you went through in life, what was the thing that said, hey, I am spiritual. I am more than what I can perceive. And did it hit you all at once? Was it like a information download when this hit you? Or did it gradually take time for you to know, okay, I am something bigger here?
Yeah, and this is what I want to evolve into.
Like, how did it hit you?
So about a year, at this time I was still smoking cigarettes because I needed to do something, right? So I was chain smoking cigarettes when I felt anxious or nervous. But for about a solid year, I did that. This is how I was dealing with it. I would go outside and I'd smoke cigarettes and just be in my head, you know, all the anxiety and stuff. But then somehow, even though it wasn't part of my reality, meditation came to me. And just like I said, when I looked in that mirror and I didn't, it was looking back at me going, this is not you. Whatever was telling me that is what brought this into my awareness. Everything is there to guide us. We have to have the eyes to see. It's always been in front of us, but we didn't have the awareness to actually see the messages that were in front of us. They can come on a billboard, they can be on a license plate, they can be in a conversation, but if we're not aware enough to receive those messages, we're not going to be able to move forward because we're not seeing it, right? There's a movie, it's called, I think it's called They Live. You remember that movie?
They
Had
Live.
Roddy
Yeah, you had to have the glasses on and
Oh yeah.
Right,
yeah,
right. So it was always there that he just couldn't see it. The
right.
messages were always there, just couldn't see it. So when that message came to me, meditation, I had to Google it. That's how ignorant I was when it came to meditation. I had no idea. But I said, I need to do something. I've done the church. I even at one point tried to go back to church, and my experience there was just like, I walked in there. It's like it was gang banging on me, right? I walked in there to a random church, went in there, no love, no, how are you? Nice to see you here, because obviously none of them had seen me before. I've never been there before. And then after it was over, a lady walks up and was like, where are you from? Just like that. Like, where are you from? I'm like, what do you mean? Like I literally, like, she was gang banging on me, church gang banging, right? Where you from?
Right.
I'm like, I live around the corner. Oh, what church did you come from? I didn't come from no church. I just came here to visit this church. And then I left disappointed. I'm like, because I was like, maybe I missed something when I was going to church. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I give it another try. Because what I'm doing in these streets is not working.
Right.
So I didn't want to go back there again. I'm like, that's not it for me. It was a hard no. It was a hard pass for me. So meditation came, and it basically says, sit down, get still, and be with what is.
Right.
I'm not exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the message I got from it. And I started sitting down, and it started to become every single day. And when I first sat down, anybody that doesn't have experience with meditation, that's going through some things, it's going to be super busy because these are the things you haven't been looking at your whole life. So the fears, the worries, all the things that you have been avoiding when you sit in stillness is going to come to the surface. So when I first started sitting down, it was just like, it was like being in a crowded room with voices everywhere. That's how busy it was. But eventually, like pond water, the more you sit, the more it starts to settle. And I still didn't know what it was actually doing, but it was transforming me from the inside out. It was addressing all the trauma and things that I had trapped in my body. I didn't know it was doing this. I just knew that every day that I sat, my day was better. And if your day is better, then your week is better. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If your week is better, then your month is better. If your month is better, then your year is better. If you can do one thing that changes your day for the better, you're changing your entire life for the better. So I'm like, I'm not going to stop this. I know people going to think I'm weird. My first where I used to meditate was in the bathroom. I would be like, all right, does anybody need to use the bathroom? I'm going to be in there for about 30 minutes. So if you need to use the bathroom, use the bathroom. And I'll go and lock myself in the bathroom. And then it just kind of evolved where I can do it anywhere. I have my spaces where I can go. But what I didn't know what it was actually doing. It was bringing up and processing the things that I was holding on to, and it was bringing the real me to the forefront. So I started to have more compassion. And it was the weirdest thing because I was like, what is this actually doing? It's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym for a week straight, you're not going to see nothing. But if you're consistent for years, you're going to see your body change. And it's only going to be when you walk past a mirror or something, you're like, who is that? Oh, that's me. The internal change was happening. You just can't see it the same way an external change happens. But what I started to feel is I started to feel a oneness. I started to feel compassion for people on the streets. Like I would look at them as if that was me. I started to really have empathy for people, compassion for people. Just how I felt started to change. I started to love myself. That's a huge thing. I started to be able to accept myself and all the things that I've done in my life, knowing that that wasn't really me. That was just a program doing this. And yes, I take full responsibility for what I've done, but I was working from a program. It wasn't really who I am. I'm starting to be who I am now, who I really am. This kind, compassionate, loving, empathetic person that's always been there, but didn't know it. I'm starting to peel off the layers of the onion, getting down to my true identity. And it was over time. And still, we are evolving. Still, if you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing, you're forever expanding to new realities, new truths, right? Higher frequencies, more experiences, more magical experiences, because you're always expanding. So the more you expand, the more you experience. So I ended up getting to a place where, like 3 years down the road, I was having so much compassion for life that I went to eat at a restaurant in Jack London Square, and it was mostly meat based restaurant. But I was with a friend, and it was close to my birthday, and I nothing meat sounded good, and I was like, I just want a vegetarian omelet. Usually, when I get an omelet, I'll put ham and some type of meat in it
Mm-hmm.
somewhere at some. And I did it this time. I'm like, none of this sounds good to me for whatever reason. And then this woman goes, "Are you a vegetarian?" And I was like, "Yes." Just like that. Never ate meat again after that.
Wow.
And it was such a trip that I don't know why I said it, but I knew I wasn't gonna eat it no more. I didn't know why, but I knew of. So once I left that breakfast, I started Googling it. Like, why did I say that? And what is this all about? Well, the only thing that I've been doing for the last 3 years consistently was meditating. So I looked up the connection between, at this time, I didn't know what a vegan was, but I looked up the connection between vegetarianism and meditation, and there's a huge connection.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start to have more compassion within yourself, it transcends species. That's why most meditative cultures don't eat it, because they understand that there's still pain and there's still suffering going on. We understand that with dogs and cats, but we don't seem to understand it because of our program when it comes to other animals. None of us, and I mean none of us, want to see any animal suffer,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just watched something the other day where these deer hunters were saving a deer from drowning. The irony of that. So you can release this deer and then go kill him later. See, we are so programmed that we're doing things that don't make sense. We're doing things that go against our true nature. As children, we would never want to see animals die. And if we told our children what they were really eating, they wouldn't eat it. It's only after we get programmed to believe that certain things are food do we not care. But you won't take your child to a slaughterhouse because you know that's traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what's going on there is going to affect them for the rest of their life. But then we will feed that same thing, that same energy to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to really make the connection. And when I left there, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because if I had to kill everything that I put on my plate, I wouldn't do it. Some people are born into that lifestyle, which they just become numb at a very young age. Hunters that are hunting from the ages of 3 and up, they become numb to death. But if you take the normal average person and you eat the normal average meat eater and you say, okay, this is going to be the cow, we're going to kill it in front of you before you eat it, they'll be like, no, 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 I don't want it. It's too real. And we have to understand that everything is energy. Every single thing in that studio is moving right now. If you look at it through a powerful enough microscope, you're going to see that it's moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's why music affects us in such a way, because that vibration moves us.
Mm-hmm.
It moves us. It changes our frequency. It changes our energy. That's why they use sound bowls. That's why classical music will make you feel a certain way. It'll bring you down. It'll make you more relaxed. That's why reggae music will make you feel a certain way. That's why hardcore rap will hype you up or make you feel a certain way. I always say nobody's ever done a drive-by listening to One Love by Bob Marley,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not in that mode. That music is going to change you in a different type of way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything is energy. What you allow into your energetic field, who you allow to be around you, what you allow yourself to eat, what you allow yourself to listen to and watch, all affects your energetic field, your frequency. Meditation, exercise, all of these things that can raise your frequency. What are we doing and what are we accepting in our circle, in our life, that's going to either promote healing and raising the frequency, or it's going to take you in another direction that you want to go to?
Right.
This is why when you change, friends change,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And I want to play devil's advocate real quick on that whole hunting part. And I'm going to give you a perspective of like our side, which, so my brother and I, we're big into hunting, but it goes back to ancestral roots as far as the human species. Meat was just a good protein, and we were doing things that were considered normal within the life of human civilization, right? Because when you speak on things like everything has energy and life form, that's why when we were raised, you know, hey, this animal's going to provide for you. This is going to be good. This is thank the animal, go out, make sure things are preserved, don't overhunt, don't, you know, keep the population in check, but still have your right among the chain of you know what I'm trying to say. God dang it, I'm losing my dang on wording, but
I know what you're trying to say.
yeah. But it goes back to, you know, plants, flowers, the grass. All these things have energy and consciousness, to my understanding. We eat these things, we consume these things. The shark eats other fish, the lion chases the gazelle, the snake eats the frog. Earth, in the way it's ran, to me, it seems like it's just that open for everything. No one casts the judgment on a shark when he eats fish, another consciousness, or when the dolphin, who I perceive to be smarter than all of Earth life, period, goes and hunts fish and knows that it's taking the life of the ocean, and it's just this harmonious thing that we just go through.
Consume or be consumed.
I look at the Earth as a consume or be consumed planet. It's just only we perceive of what has more value than others. I don't think that an animal is that far from a blade of grass. You know what I mean? As far as we know, those two consciousness meet on the same paradigm. We just can't perceive that. I had a near-death experience, and I wanted you to kind of watch that before we did this podcast so you can get an understanding of some of the things I'm going to say. But when I was outside of my body, it felt as if, you know, because I was fully aware. I was consciousness. I was that of where everything was created, but I had this full awareness of my situation outside of my body. And I saw Earth in the distance, and I just knew that everything was connected, and that there was kind of like no wrong. You're just going along to what you signed up to do. And I say that because I always thought that there was a separation too. Like, I couldn't understand why people that were vegetarian couldn't eat meat, people that eat meat, why they're not vegetarian. And in actuality, it was all just the same thing. No one was wrong, no one was right. But I feel like if I had not said or played devil's advocate, I would be doing you a disservice as far as explaining our side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So let me run it back. Let me run it back. Okay, so our animal agriculture and what they do and the resources they use and how they use up the water, the land, and the conditions those animals are in is a completely different thing. So if we go back to the Native Americans, they did what they had to do to survive, and they knew that that animal was giving up their life for them. Whole different situation. If I had to eat an animal to live, I would eat one 100%. 100%. But I would still understand that this animal sacrifices life for me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you were putting it more in a spiritual context as to
why majority don't do it that or look at it that way.
If there's not a need to do it, then why do it?
Well, I remember.
But hold on. But there still lies that variable out there for when things go unchecked on this planet, it could be extremely detrimental to all life forms. So there still is a balance there. There still is a understanding.
Well, let's look at it in the context of animal agriculture, because that's where most of our meat comes from. It's a horrible, and we're breeding them. It's not like they're not going unchecked. We're creating them just for food. So it's not like they're running wild and we're not thinning out the population. They're breeding millions of animals every single day just for us to consume. It's a whole different thing. Yeah. The buffalo's taking over the landscape. You know what I'm saying? It's just not the case.
Yeah, and they're breeding that so we don't, you know, overeat.
And to be honest, I much rather eat from the land than eat from a major food store.
Right, because you don't know what they put in it.
You know, that in itself with GMO products and who knows what they're feeding population. But if I am to consume meat, in my mind, I want to be the one to take that life because I feel like I am the steward or the god of the land. And I know what it took to do that, to respect that animal versus seeing an animal caged up. His adrenaline is constantly high. We're eating these, these animals at the most scariest point in their life.
Which is no longer though, because to Monk's point, we do those things like Temple Grandin.
Yeah, but that's not all processing places.
Right, but like Temple Grandin, she devised that way where the cows are not like secreting all these pheromones because they're being panicked into a slaughter. She devised a chute, like he was saying, to like make them at ease as we butcher them.
And I understand that, but that's not for all processing facilities.
No, and I realize that, but there are some out there that does it right.
And I think I read a study too, even for people who drink milk. I don't drink milk, but those cows are constantly stressed. And even if you think they weren't stressed in these facilities, when they secrete that milk, it carries that energy and that stress with it. It does something different to the milk. Just like if you played an orchestra type of sambo and turned the speaker to a plant, and the plant just vibes different. It grows different. If you put negative music just full of hate and aim it at that plant, the plant more than likely is going to wilter or not have a will to thrive. So for those chemicals and hormones not to travel in that milk and you consume it, it is going to have some type of reaction to it. And it don't sound like it's going to be a good reaction. So
not at all.
Not at all. And I think everything has a balance. Now, yeah, we live in an environment where you really don't have to be a meat eater. We have so many ways of getting protein and, so many companies investing in keto diets and vegans where, honestly, I could eat some burgers and I wouldn't be able to tell you if that was meat or not.
Right.
I got surprised on a couple of things. And then the other things are you like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this is a synthetic byproduct, So, you have a lot of.
Sorry to interrupt. For me, I don't have no problem with people doing whatever they do.
No, I get that.
It's my own personal belief. This is how I got where I got to, and then whatever anybody else does is their business.
Right,
and I'm not that one out there.
Yeah, I totally get that, and the reason why we let most people who come on this show, we tend to give them the ground because it is their life experience and their avatar that is going through this dimension. That is the most curious thing for us. And whenever someone has a ideation on how they run their avatar, it's a beautiful thing because it can still go through the same loops and hoops. Mm-hmm. But just with a different ideation.
Yep. And that was just more so of us, so you got to know us and express what our side is too, so we can see these different contrasts and how they both lead to the same.
They lead to the same
place.
Yeah. And I don't know if I asked the question right the first time, but for a spiritual break-in, it sounded like yours was a totality of things that led you to this ultimate thing. I probably should have worded it as, have you had a major breakthrough like a near-death experience, or you witnessed an apparition walk past you, or, something that was just so acute. For me, it was the ringing in the ear event. That's when I knew, okay, this is weird. This is something that's beyond any of my understanding. Have you ever had anything like that where it just hit you immediately? It was just like, okay, that really challenged my whole thought process. on this reality.
Yes. So when I started doing the meditation, and I started to get these body movements, the involuntary body movements, that's when I knew that something was going on, and it made me want to continue. I didn't know exactly what it was, but it made me want to continue because I'm like, I'm not doing this on my own, so something is happening to me, even on a physical level, like something is happening to me. And one night I was laying in bed, and out my head was facing one direction, and it just did a whole rotation to the other direction without me doing it. I'm like, this is getting is things are happening that I don't know what they are. And I wasn't telling my wife at the time, I wasn't telling her this was happening because it I don't know how she was going to take that. So when that stuff started happening, I'm like, oh, I was meditating more. I mean, hour and a half, I was really going in, because I was like, okay, something is really happening here. Just like when you're exercising and you start to see the six pack, you go, I'm going to exercise harder, right? So I'm going to spend more time sitting in stillness. And doing that, I had a couple Kundalini awakenings. And when those happened, I'm just like, this is out of this world.
Explain that.
Like this,
Explain it.
That Kundalini awakening.
yeah. So the first time, so Kundalini energy is stored at the base of the spine, and usually stays dormant in most people.
Okay.
But if you have a meditation practice, you could also bring it up through breathing practices, but I wouldn't recommend it because if you're not ready for it, it could send you in a state of psychosis. It could do stuff to your body that you ain't ready for. But like going back to when I was having all these involuntary movements in my body, it was almost frustrating because I just try to sit and get still, and then my body's jerking around like I got Tourette's, right? So it's kind of frustrating. But one day I was sitting down and my belly started doing I was doing a belly dance involuntarily. Like it was like a wave. It's like if you can just picture a wave without a break on it, just going like this. This is what it was doing. And did it for about 10 minutes. And I just sat there with it. It didn't hurt, nothing hurt. And I was like, oh man, this is interesting. And then I seen this video, this woman, her name is Christina Lopes. And she described exactly the experience that I had. She had the same exact one. So I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is strange. So when she explained what happened and she said what it was, I'm like, oh, that was Kundalini energy. It's like the blocks had been removed and that's the energy is flowing. After that, I didn't have any more of those jerks, which makes sense. Now it's not hitting, the energy's not hitting anything. That was the first minor one. The major one I had, it was I was sitting down, half lotus. For anybody that doesn't know, it's like a meditation pose. It's very common. You can look it up. There's lotus, half lotus. I was sitting in that position. And I started doing a breathing exercise, and my body just started spinning, just like this. And to the point where I just relaxed my whole body and let my body do its thing. Because I did have my hands up or had it in some type of mudra or some type of thing, and I just relaxed my hands and let my body do its thing. And what it would do, it would spin, 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 and it would slow down, and then it was kind of sit, and then even kind of go back the other way a little bit, and then it would start doing it again. This lasted for a while, and I was just sitting there going, what is this? And then all of a sudden, on the top of my head, it was like something opened up. And it was like warm soda being poured on the top of my head. And then after that experience, I was so convinced that I went somewhere. Something really major just happened to me. It unlocked some stuff within me. But for 2 weeks, I couldn't walk. I had vertigo for 2 weeks. I couldn't walk without feeling a little bit dizzy because all this energy had been released. Like we are energy. So you have a bunch of powerful energy that now has been released into your body temple, right? It's still trying to find its, it's still trying to settle, it's still trying to find its, its place. So it's still moving around. You're still moving around. Even when I would relax standing up, my body would move. It just start moving like this. Still didn't tell my wife about it, but I had to look that up. I'm like, is this a normal thing? And I found an article that says Kundalini vertigo. Never heard of it before. Kundalini vertigo. It's when it gets this energy comes up and it makes you have vertigo. You're not stable on your feet. It was a huge energetic experience, and now you're just a little bit off. But those two experiences were the ones that was like, whatever path that I'm on, it's way beyond this 3D reality.
Mm.
It's way beyond that. There's like you can't tell me anything about this now because I experienced it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of times, especially in organized religion, you know it on a conceptual level. You've never experienced it. You've read about it, you've
Right.
heard about it, you know
Exactly.
what it is as a concept, but you never had that experience. And I experienced it. So nobody can tell me anything. I
Which
didn't
is
know what it was. And I'm glad I didn't know what it was because then I would have, in my head, I would have been like, did I just make that up? No, I didn't. Just like your near death experience. It's like you didn't plan that. It just happened. You experienced it. And it's really the experience that we need to be understanding, not the concept of what the experience is supposed to be.
right.
Did you
More
leave your
Everybody's
body or
right. Yeah.
something?
Well,
Like,
well, I was going to say something more receptive. And isn't it funny? Isn't it ironic that those that have religion and believe in all these different religious beliefs, when we tell them something as what I would perceive as a universal soul, that hey, I've experienced this. I'm telling you, we are more than our bodies. They find it very hard to believe you, but yet you believe in a God that you think is external and you haven't met yet just by someone telling you a story. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a major disconnect there that, people believe in some things, but they don't even believe in them own selves or other fellow humans trying to give them what they want and validate their suspicions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that it's very surface level
Right.
and it's very fear based. Right. I'm doing this. I'm going to church every week because I'm trying to get a ticket into heaven.
Yeah.
Heaven, kingdom of heaven is within you. It says it right there. Right? Ye are gods. It says it right there. We are just an individualized piece of the one thing in our own unique expression. We are a wave to the ocean. We are sun ray to the sun. We are part of it all, but also an individual. And this is why when you understand this, how all when you have a deep understanding of this, then there is no separation. There's no division.
Right.
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 Did you leave your body
Everything.
at any point during meditation? Like, did you start to see yourself as a third person view?
I haven't really not to that extent, but I have been out of my body. Right? I have been like where did I just go?
Mm-hmm.
Type of energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you just know that you went
Yeah.
somewhere.
I can agree with that. You know, and no one can tell you any different.
Yeah, me too. I could attest to that. But on your meditation journey, because it sounds like a journey that has no real ending. The things you think about, are you thinking about like outer space or time travel or I mean, what goes on in your mind to try and open that process to separate from the physical out into the vast, wherever you're trying to go?
Well, the the third eye is the connection from the physical to the non-physical. This is where our spiritual experiences come from. And in order to even access that, the heart needs to be opened. That's the gateway from the lower realms to the higher realms. So once that heart is open, now you got access to these other higher aspects of yourself. But the heart has to be open. That's why if there's anybody that's still holding hate and they're not open to the higher realms. They can't be. Your heart has to be open. But sometimes I will focus on my third eye. And even when I do that, sometimes even there's so much movement and activity there. And sometimes I'll even start seeing things. So I've seen faces in meditation. I've seen things in meditation. I've also seen them when I get ready to lay down and I focus it in that area. And when I go to sleep, my prayer is um, I'm always releasing the day, right? Because we carry one day into the next day, even though there's days aren't really real. It's just continuous now moments. But you want to release it before you go to sleep. So I release and forgive this day, and it was perfect, right? And it is done. But I will have a prayer as far as asking to get the downloads that I need, get the information that I need. Help me to go up and get that information. So I do certain practices like that because the Akashic records are, I know you heard of that. It's where all information resides
Yes.
in your reality. So you can go up and get information. You can wake up the next day and say, aha, I know something that I didn't know last night. Right. So my connection to the things that are not physical, I'm always there every day with meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I ask to receive not only the information, but the guidance to show me which way I should go.
Right.
It's going to best serve my purpose here on earth.
Now, for you, do you find yourself being a lot more taking life and yourself a lot more serious? Like my brother and I, we've had these experiences. I guess we're just thankful that we're still us. We're still the joking, playful us. We can still keep our personalities and be good with it. Like when you said you walked into that church and she was set tripping on you, I thought, my God, if you had told her you was a Protestant, she might have stabbed you, bruh.
Right.
She might have waited until you was getting ready to walk out and literally just attack you. You ever think about your safety? Was it a Baptist church? Let me ask you that.
No. My safety was cool. I was like, how can you just be so cold though?
Right.
Isn't this supposed to be a house of love?
Right.
Why would you come to me and say, hey, it was nice seeing you here.
Yeah.
You should, we'd love to have you come back.
Right.
What's your name? What's your name?
Yeah.
She didn't ask me my name.
Yeah. You walked in there. She was like, look at.
Where
She was like, look
Where
at
you
this
from?
here. Yeah. I'm sure you went in looking like Monk, and she was like, what do we have here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I even had the tie and everything on. I dressed the whole part.
Oh man.
And there was still a disconnect.
That's
Yeah.
the whole part. She just didn't know my face.
Listen to me,
So
y'all.
she was
Listen to me.
She was just like, who are you? Like, where you
Right.
come from?
Yeah.
And I've seen that. So I was in this small town. It's in Ohio, and I was literally told by a woman who's lived in this small town her whole life. She said that the town is basically Protestant and Catholic, and she would look and see like the Protestants would go out of their way to cross the street so they wouldn't be on the same side as the Catholic person. And I'm thinking to myself, but wait a minute, but you guys are in love with God, and God wouldn't act this way if I'm thinking how you guys are thinking. But what's the big discrepancy here? Why are you guys segregating yourself the same with Israel and the Palestinians? I know a lot of that is over land, but it's also a religious war that's been going on for years. It's I find that very, very comical. That like this is the situation. The moment you went in that church, she tried to pick you out as if you were nothing but what she believed in.
Yeah, I don't understand it. And when it comes back down to it, it's really about love. Just period.
Right.
Love for yourself and love for others. That's what I believe that God is.
Right.
Right. I believe that God is unconditional love. And the best example, and it's from the Bible, of unconditional love, forgive them for they know not what they do. And what I got out of that is they are living the program. They
Mm-hmm.
actually don't know what they're doing right now.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
not aligned with their higher self.
Right.
This is not really who they are, it's who they think they are.
Right.
So I can't take that personal. So we understand this when it comes to someone that may be mentally handicapped, that they come at us a certain way, right? We understand, okay, oh, it's because they're having they have mental challenges. We understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone that didn't came at us the same way, we wouldn't understand that,
Mm-hmm.
even though there's a reason for that too,
Right.
right? We we will understand a child if they make a mistake because that's where they are. But we can't forgive or understand a grown up because we think they should know better. No, but that's where they are. That's exactly where they are. Their behavior shows you exactly where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And hurt people. If you're just a 50-year-old that still is traumatized, you're still a 50-year-old dealing with things that happened in your childhood, and you act accordingly. Now, why would I judge you on that? Obviously, you're going through some things. But we assume or we think someone should do better because maybe we're doing better in that particular point
Right.
or aspect in our life. But they're probably doing better than us in other aspects of their life.
Right.
So just to have understanding, look, I want to try to understand you and where you're coming from instead of judging you
Right.
for where you're at.
Trying
And I
to
think that's what the difference. Go ahead.
trying to convince someone they're wrong when they're convinced themselves
They're
that
right.
they're right is a difficult thing because we all have our own minds and our own concept of what this life is supposed to be about. So we're all right in our minds, you know?
Yeah.
And if you look at the double entendre to that, we're all right, you know? It, if we spend less time trying to be like a God and spend more time trying to be
A
your
human.
own God and a human,
Yeah.
I think we'll we'll get more from this life than we are. But we spend so much time weighing what's wrong, what's right. We're missing just to live a life.
Yeah.
And my brother said something a few weeks ago. Even an atheist is living the right life because if there is a God, that God must be like, finally, thank you. Live your life. You don't have to believe in me. I believe in you. You are a part of me. I don't want you to do anything other than live your life. So that a lot of people, there are no wrongs. There are no rights. Our lives didn't come with instruction manuals. They came with books and things that we should try and adhere to. But all of us know, and I'm sure all of us know, even those that have psychosis or mental issues know what happiness feels like. We know
Mm.
what a smile is without man-made ideations or any of that scripture. We know what a negative feeling feels like. We know what hate is. And the more that we can understand that this is us, it doesn't have to be any more than this. Act on those feelings alone
Mm-hmm.
and try to learn from this life. Because I do believe that there is something after this.
Right. And I'm still a big part of me believes that this is all lessons we signed up for. The reason Earth or the physical life is the way it is because it's supposed to be this hard. I imagine our God source, or however we want to place it, knows that this physical life is hard. But yet we still choose to do it. It goes back to an old podcast we did called Spiritual Buffness. And I like to put ourselves in a place of, yo, so my brother and I and Monk were in the afterlife, and we're like, we see, you know, old Frank come out of nowhere, but he got a hardcore level up. Like this dude aura is just blinding. And the three of us are like, where the hell did you get that from? And he's like, yo, boys, I went down to earth and let me tell you something. That was some of the hardest shit I have ever done. I learned how to hate. I learned how to be jealous. I learned so much shit. This is what y'all see today. So what do we three go? We go, well, damn, that's a hell of a level up.
I want an aura like that.
I want something like that. Let me go get that kind of vibration because I don't think my vibration is that high yet. So we like, yo, ticket man, send down these 3 souls, right? We get a somewhat marginal stance to deviate from the path, but we write out these plans of what we want to experience, and bam, we go do it. But there's unforeknowns. You know, you can't get too far, but your story is there. You just have to tap into it. So fast forward, I think we all had a great dose of life. Now I can say, oh, this is what Frank went through. This dude went through some shit where, you know, it is very, very hard. And I will never, I could have never gotten here without my past mistakes, without Monk changing his name and becoming an alcoholic, a drug pusher, without this dude losing certain things or aspects of family time. And it's all flipped us for the best. This has got to be one of the best journeys ever, you know, right now. And I feel like sometimes we just need to take a big old look at the journey. Like the three of us right now are on a cosmic roller coaster, and our tracks lined up with each other. And now I'm looking at you on your roller coaster and him, and we're just on this same path, man. And I find that amazing that we can even acknowledge that.
I think the Ticketmaster too, when he was taking our tickets, he was like, yeah, y'all really think you going to do this, but I'm going to change a whole lot of things when y'all get down there. I'm not sticking to the deal. I know we shook on this, but I'm going to really give you a ride. Yeah. Here's the big kicker, though. You're not going to remember where you came from. Yeah. That's the only deal.
Yeah, that's the only deal.
You figure that out on your own. Fair. Yeah. And I want to see just how strong you think your soul is. Like, do you think it's that strong where you're going to come out and weigh yourself and you played a hell of a game, sir. You don't have any regrets. Yeah. But if you come back to me and you were like, wait, I fucked up. Give me another quarter. I'm going back down. God damn it, I'm going to do this again.
Yeah, I got to get it right.
Yeah.
I used to think of old people as like, I felt bad for them. Like, oh, that dude is old. But what I didn't realize is that older person, he played a hell of a game of life.
He's a master at life.
He's survived it, and he's still surviving it.
Right.
You know, some people, they don't make it past 20, but this person, you know, he bobbed and weaved. He did some Muhammad Ali with his life, and I'm sure it was hard. No one leaves this planet unscathed.
Right. And I know for a fact when I started having them ear-ringing events and I started figuring, oh, you know, there's no doctor or there's no friend that's really going to listen to me and help me understand what's going on. They're going to look at me different and go, I don't understand what you're going through. That's it. That's all the information they can give me unless they make something up.
Or if they've been there. Hey, Monk, let me ask you this.
Hold on. I was getting to a point there.
Yeah.
Even with all that being said, I still find it that I am not tied to being a spiritual person.
Right.
I still like to go out and be me.
Right.
Whether I go out and I'm making fun of somebody or I'm playing music or I'm constantly joking around, I never stop to let it take over my will of being my natural self.
Right.
I'll never take it as serious enough as most of these people do, because I feel like they've invested too much time into just that. I'm going to invest 100% time into this and figure this damn thing out and make up my own instruction manual as I go.
Yeah.
And try to leave a good enough notes to where the kids will kind of read it and go, well, shit, Dad has some things figured out. Let me try some of this.
Yeah, let me capitalize and
figure out where he went wrong and try to write the manual for this.
Yeah, capitalize on it.
Right.
Take your where you left off and make it bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wish people would just know, YouTubers and listeners, don't try to figure this shit out. Go with it. Stay in the flow.
Yeah. Don't try to take control over anything because it's out of your control.
Just let go, and the flow, just on pure love alone and positive thought alone,
will open a lot of doors.
It's going to flow you down where you need to go.
Yeah. And before I lose that, hey, Monk, you said your wife, was it your wife? You said you were afraid that she would not understand you and think you were crazy. Where does she stand now?
Oh, she meditates every day.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, she didn't. Like when I came home, when I had that epiphany at the restaurant, and I came home and I said, "I'm not eating meat no more." She was basically like, "Good for you. I'm still gonna eat it."
Yeah. So she's not vegan.
So she is now.
Oh, okay.
She was cooked for me. She thought I was playing. I was serious. So she would cook for me and leave out to me. And then she got so used to it, she just started leaving it out. She started meditating on her own. See, I'm not the type of person that be like, this is what you got to do. So my wife, I'm like, look, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. My youngest daughter, who is 15, hey, do you.
Right.
But both of them ended up on their own switching. Like my daughter, and I really believe that our children choose us.
Oh, yeah. We're in the same boat. Yep, we're in the same boat.
My daughter came to save me, and I'm going to tell you how. So that night in Miami, I just found out her mom was pregnant. That night, the next day, the bleeding started. When I look back on it now, I'm just like, this soul came through and said, I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you to be here. And what you're doing right now is not going to help me the way you're living right now. So I'm going to give you something that's going to really make you think deeper about how you're living and what kind of example that you're going to show me, because I'm going to need you. So I believe she came here to save me. And going forward, I was just she never seen me take a drink. She never seen me smoke a cigarette. She never seen any of that. All she's seen was my healing journey, me meditating, me treating people a certain way. And by the time she was 9 years old, and I wasn't even locked into like the crystals and the spirituality like that, but she was. She was already doing tarot readings at like 9 years old to adults.
That's wow.
Like, I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know what that was. She did that on her own.
And let me guess, she didn't care what anybody thought about her, not even her parents.
She was getting paid by adults to do readings at a young age, right? So this is where she's a definite star seed, and she came here to do something. First of all, like I said, I have 6 kids. One's in jail right now. The other one's dealing with drugs. One's a college graduate. One's in college. The other one's on the spectrum.
The polarities, boy.
all these different personalities, but this last one, she's never had less than a 4.0 in anything. Test out the highest. She's like an accomplished author the way she writes. And all of her teachers, we thought the teachers were just gassing her up or gassing us up, saying, your daughter is this, your daughter is that. And we was just like, yeah, whatever. But then now she's a sophomore. She's taken 3 AP classes and 2 honors classes, still getting 4.0 as a sophomore. But this girl at 6 years old, 7 years old, she was bugging me, right? Daddy. I'm like, why don't you go draw something? Well, go, because I kept pens and art stuff in the corner. I'm like, why don't you go grab something and draw something? She comes back, and when I tell you she wrote the roadmap to life on this paper, she comes back and goes, Daddy, look what I did. And she handed it to me. And I started reading it, and my mind was blown. It was how you should behave as a human being towards other human beings. Be kind to others. Forgive yourself. Just all these different affirmations she wrote all over this paper.
Has she had any knowledge of the Bible or any scripture prior to this?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Nothing.
very interesting.
Like never say never. Like you can do what you say. You put your mind. Just all these the most powerful page of affirmations that you could ever think of. I couldn't have thought of all these things. She was 6 or 7 years old, and she brought that back to me and handed it to me, and I was like, my mind was blown. How she even come up with this stuff? Like, where did this come from? She was already tapped in.
Mm-hmm.
She was already tapped in. She comes up at 6 years old, told her mom, she said, I have a question. Mom's like, what's the question? How come men go by Mr. and women have to go by something that shows their availability or that shows if they're taken or not? Miss, Mrs.
Right.
I was like, I never thought about that. How does this little child, how's that thought even crossing her mind?
Right.
Like, why do men get to go by one thing and the women have to go by something else to show if they're taken or not? I'm like, that, I don't know. Like, that's what I said. I don't know. But how did that never crossed my mind?
Do you believe
She
in
was always a,
do you believe in reincarnation?
oh, for sure.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that she's an old soul that's so used to being in the body and posing these questions, and why she's so smart? You think she's reliving this separate life?
For sure. But I think wherever she came from, she was so insecure
Mm-hmm.
about her body.
Mm-hmm.
She just wasn't used to that form. I mean, she is now, right? She's been in gymnastics, she's on a dance team and all this other stuff, but she was so like not knowing what's going on because it wasn't the way she felt and what she was seeing was not matching.
So she's from a different galaxy.
Yeah.
For all we
I
know.
always said,
For all we know.
yeah, I said she's from somewhere else. I said I've told her this ever since she was little. And what I told her, we were on the BART train in the Bay Area, and she was real young. And I said, you know what? I said, you're here to change the world. And I don't even know why I said that, but I said it to her, and she just kind of looked at me and was like, okay, that type of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think she came here to save me. She came here to save me from myself, and she needed what I gave to her so she can be who she came here to be.
Right, but so I'm gonna go back to something you said about you don't try to change a way a person thinks or live their life. I'm gonna kind of agree and kind of not, and here's why. By you being vegetarian and how you've gone through this life journey and this experience on how it's affected you to a very significant point where you're no longer the same persona, sir. Your protagonist has even changed in midlife. That is so profound and so outgoing and
Out the box.
and tangible. Your wife and child looked at you and saw what a difference it made and decided, you know what? If he is this different and has changed this much, truly, he is on a path where I can get on board with. Yeah. So you may have not verbally told them, I need you to change. Just by
the actions alone
and how you transformed yourself, they took that and just was like, I need to change. And if it doesn't work, at least I'm trying something new that it helped my husband.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And your daughter felt like it came from a source that was familiar to her, that had no negative tie-in on the proverbial phone line. It was all a positive action.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nothing really was said. But it was so much to the point where I got to get on board with this.
Yeah. Something within me says I need to do this to be better. We don't need to say anything. People watch our podcast and they may not agree with some things, and they'll look at it and go, I may not agree with it, but damn, they make a hell of a point. I'm willing to implement that in my life.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's very sensitive in your home. And if you had, let's just say you had a bigger home and you had 7 bedrooms, you can house all your kids. And if they were you guys were forced to be in that house for 1 month, with just the energy that you give off alone, your wife and daughter already picked up on it. It then becomes really infectious. And then it starts to alter the other kids. That's how strong energy is, and we can't even see it. If I walked my ass in the house and I had a shitty attitude, and if I sat on that couch, my wife will look direct. A second won't go by, brother. My wife will look me in the eye and go, "What's wrong with you? I ain't said shit. Maybe I didn't even do nothing to tip her off." But her universal hound-like nose knows when, double entendre there, the strings are being pulled, these energy strings are being pulled like a harp in the house. The moment one key, one note is off, she's on it. And she will not let me fester in it because she knows I'm the type of individual that if I fester in it, this negative energy starts to grow bigger, then it's disrupting all the field, and she'll come and hurry up and cleanse that, won't let me fester. And then once she does, it's almost like she's almost like a shaman, and I'm on a DMT trip or an ayahuasca trip. I don't know what this trip is like, but she's a shaman and she's singing me back into center, whether it's the conversation we're having. And sometimes I notice with her, she'll come sit next to me, not say a word. And just that action alone says, "Hey, I'm with you. I'm singing you back to center. And I'm going to do this song until you come back. When you come back, then you open up as a human being. Then you start saying, hey, this is what's wrong, or this is, how the universe threw me a curveball today. What am I not seeing here? So
I'll attest to that too, because when I came back here and Marilyn was in the offset mood,
yes,
I walked in the door and it was tangible. And I hadn't been back to the studio in like a week, but
as soon as he walked in, he said, "Man, what's going on in this household?"
I could definitely feel that something was off. And then after finding out the story, I was like, oh, so we let Meryl have her moment, but not too much of it. We went over there and started talking to her, getting her out of the mood, saying positive stuff. But she stayed in it for a while, like as you're supposed to. You're human. You're supposed to, feel these
emotions,
these emotions
right,
every now and then. But it is very tangible. I didn't even have to know what was going on.
Right.
Like the whole house seemed like the music just got turned down.
Right.
You know what I mean? The vibration was good, but it just seemed like somebody just turned it down.
I'm used to it being higher.
Yeah, I'm used to it being at these many decibels, throughout my time here.
And the situation was affecting both the wife and I, because it deals with, our daughter, and we let this feeling just consume us. The feeling of we don't have control over someone else, even if we know that person's not listening to us, that, we're trying to get her on a better path. The feeling was just consuming that we just didn't have control, and it was starting to turn into a anger. And my brother came in and he felt it. And the first thing he did, he looked at me and he changed the subject. He immediately said, "Man, are you seeing?" I guess we were talking about music. What's up with that Herbie Hancock and Wah Watson? And And then I go, "No, I'm trying to tell you what's going on here downstairs." And he goes, "Man, I'm telling you, this Herbie Hancock." And then I stopped and I said, "Look at you. You're trying to change the subject." And once my ego got past, I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're
purposely trying to get you out of that mood."
Yeah, now you're trying to sing us back to center. Yeah. Now you're the shaman, and it's funny because in our household, everybody takes turn
being the shaman,
and no one knows when they're being the shaman until that situation occurs. It's not like you elect today, I'm the shaman today. Tomorrow, you the shaman. No, it happens and it falls on that person's lap when they're least not expecting it.
His ego was literally telling me, no, don't get me out of the mood. I want to stay in this.
Right.
No, we have created a mood and we want to stay in it. And he was literally telling me that. I don't want to change the subject. I want to stay right here in this negative mood.
Right. It started to become...
How easy is it to justify your negative mood?
It started to be... I was starting to find comfort in the negativity. As weird as that sounds, and I know I'm a positive person. I know. But I started to feel comfort there, like, my old friend, you know? Like, this is where I just want to be. And we all want the best for our kids. We all want, and parents especially, we all want to force our kids onto the right path. But I think we forget
it's their path.
Everybody has their own mind, their own morals, and where they need to be in life. And we just have to let go.
Well, Monk, I think you can relate because didn't you say one of your children is currently on drugs?
And one is currently in jail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, all you can do is love them. I know that I played a role in how what path they took. Because parents play a role whether we think we're playing a role or not. But like I was saying, I wasn't in my truth. I got my role from the people before me. They influenced me and how I moved. So I'm here to break the cycle. I'm here to really heal that ancestral trauma that's been passed down. And people that don't believe that, quick story. I was watching TV. This was years and years and years ago. But they were doing an experiment with mice. And they introduced a smell to the mouse, and then they would shock it, right? Terrible thing, but I'm just trying to make an example here. So say smell is lavender. Every time you smell lavender, you're going to get a shock. Every single time. Smell, shock, smell, shock. 6 generations down, mice generations. They introduced that smell to the mouse, and it recoiled. It changed the gene expression. It changed it so that when it smelled that, even though it didn't have the direct experience, it knew something bad was coming. So when our DNA gets changed through this trauma, the gene expression gets changed through our ancestors. It gets passed down to us, and we do not address it. We live in this dysfunctional place. Then we pass it down to our children. Breaking the cycle is breaking the cycle on both ends. I believe when we heal going backwards and going forwards. Think about it. All your ancestors they're in you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't got a piece of all your ancestors in you right now. Right? There's always going to be you and your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids. So now, why can't I heal myself and heal that part of my ancestors that's in me? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Your ancestors are still in you. So when you heal, they heal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a long line. It's tethered. It's your lineage. It's the whole lesson. Like right now, Monk is perceived to be in his kid's position. One's in jail, one's on drugs, one's got this scholarship or got the smarts, and the other's this, and that, and the third. And he is living those experiences simultaneously.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely see that. I definitely see our kids as
extension of us.
Like, hey, myself, when I was a teenager, I went through life this way. But I had a son or I had a daughter. That's me trying to go down a different avenue.
Right.
They have a son. They have a daughter. That's still me trying to go down a different avenue.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I know when you got a bunch of scientists in the room and I think we talked about this yesterday when we planned to do the podcast. A bunch of scientists in a room. Their one goal is to figure out what is the purpose of life. Let's just say that's their topic for the year. These scientists could have came in the form of Tesla, Einstein, whoever. You'd have to believe they figured out everything. Let's just say 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they tested these theories from all these bright minds, and they figured out, holy shit, humans are just receivers. Somewhere out there is a huge source of knowledge that we can't see. And humans are just receiving this information. We're receivers. And there has to be a way to tap into this and find out where this signal is coming from.
Where the frequency is located.
Because we're energy based. They figured out, well, shit, look at this. We don't need this. This is just a facade. Damn it, let's go in here and test to see if we need this. Einstein, I'm sure, did it. Tesla, I think you said Tesla, figured out that we were just a bunch of energy getting fed, a signal. And then out comes a projection. This reality, So I now just let go of the horse. And now I'm just like, okay, my children are going to be children. They're going to live their lives. I don't have to worry about them. Like you said, just love them. If you just love them, that's always going to give them a place to come back to. If you don't love them, they're never going to come back for information.
Well, and it's just clogging up your lineage.
If you keep making their life harder and try to control their life, they're not going to want to come back for information.
Right. Let me ask you guys this. Where do you think, because I was talking to a doctor about this, where do you think consciousness or the soul resides? Is it the mind, what we can perceive as our brain, or is it in the heart? Because I can tell you when you love somebody, my brain has zero to do with it. My heart tells me I love this person, which entails to me sends a signal to the brain and the brain into my consciousness.
I think it's in the stomach. It's in the solar plexus.
Okay, so for you, it's not the head.
It's not the head. I think it, like I said, I think this is the receiver.
Right. The sponge. That's what What about you, Monk?
I think consciousness is beyond the mind.
Right.
Beyond the mind. And as far as the physical, where we receive or where we give the most energy always comes through the heart.
Right.
Like they've measured the energy coming out. Why do you think people hug? Because all these things that we do, why do you think hugs are so effective? Where you're going heart to heart.
Facts.
Right? You're and I tell people this all the time. It's like hugs are so natural. When you see your friend is crying or doing bad, you're without thinking, you go up and hug them. It's because you're trying to love them.
Right.
And it's natural. It's our natural state of being. So if they measure the energy coming from your body, most of the energy, the strongest energy is going to come from the heart center.
Right.
And we close down our hearts. I always tell my clients two things to always keep open: your mind and your heart. This is how you can have an old, bitter person, or you can have a person that's still living life at an old age. When we have these experiences, our heart is our life force. When this closes, it's over. But we close down piece by piece with every experience, traumatic experience, every heartbreak. You heard people dying from a broken heart. They literally just closed off their heart. They're dead.
Right.
That's their life force energy. So when we close off from different experiences, and we hold these different experiences, we're closing off our life force. So if someone does something to you 20 years ago and you're still mad about it, and you're still bitter, there's part of your heart that's closed to that experience and close to the person. So the more years that you're here, the more that you close off, the more bitter and old you become.
Right.
those older people that are loving life, that are still doing new things and are laughing and having a great time, their heart just remained open. That's the only difference between them and a bitter
Right.
person.
Yeah.
We even use it in our expressions.
Yeah.
We also say things like, "I believe it in my heart this to be true."
Right.
You rarely even hear people say, "I believe it in my mind to be true."
Yeah.
It doesn't resonate.
Or when you cook like some good food, like
you put your heart into it.
into it. You know?
I think we know the answer to that. I think if you sat and thought about it, the heart is responsible for a lot of feeling. You failed the test. I normally feel it in my heart, or my stomach just sinks like, oh, brain does a little bit of that. I mean, everything that I've perceived it like that was a emotional resonance for me was always in the heart. It was really never in the mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a ghost or anything in the sky that questioned reality for you?
So I know, and I've read this before and I've heard this before from people, sometimes you'll catch things out of the corner of your eye and you think something's there and you whip your head around and you don't see nothing. There's really something. There's really something. So I haven't seen what people would be considered a ghost, but I've known something is there.
Right.
I felt that it's something, a presence.
That sixth sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was there. I walked into a house where I just felt evil before. You walk in and you just walk right out. It's like the energy in this room is bad.
Yeah, it's off.
Like I don't want to. It's off. I don't want to be around this.
Was it a coward? Was it a cowering? I can't even say that word.
A cowering.
Yeah, evil, or was it an evil you can stand up to?
So it was the time I'm talking about, speaking on. We were going to search for houses to rent, and we went to this house in deep East Oakland, in a pretty bad neighborhood. But it was this house, and it was supposed to be a good price. But we go there. First of all, first red flag was the woman didn't even show up at the house. She just gave us the code to get in.
Oh man.
Didn't even know us, right? We're like, that's strange.
That's cold right there. Yeah.
Right. We get there, the grass is all overgrown, right? It's like, this is how you show in the house? So it's all bad even before we go in. We go in, it looks like a squat house. And you go in and you just get this feeling, right? It seems like and when I say a squat, like an abandoned building, it seems like. And we step about a few feet into it. It's like, something feels real off. And then we see this big old rusted knife sitting on a beat up chair in the middle of the living room. And we just turned around and walked out. We said, this is nuts. First of all, was this a setup? Were we supposed to walk in here and get robbed?
Right.
It says something felt really off. It's like, you don't send a person to a house that looks like that wants to rent a house.
Right.
So what's going on? And we felt it. We turned around and got up out of there. So just like you were saying earlier, everything is energy, and there's some dark energy out there. If you look at serial killers, and when they do interviews, or people that have done interviews with them, they just say they just felt this coldness, this feeling that they were emitting. These people living in such a dark space, such a low vibrational space. But it's real. That's all there is.
That answered my question, because your first thought, the both of you, your first thought was to leave. So that was saying that energy is far greater than what you and your wife can cleanse. And I often judge those feelings based on like my instinct as well. If this is going to be greater than I can cleanse, we can't stay here.
Right.
We've entered a home like that where we were looking to buy in Wyoming. And the wife went in and she was like, oh, no. Even the realtor said, I feel it too. And I looked at them and I was like, well, why are we still in this fucking house?
Yeah.
Let's go. What are y'all
here.
doing? She knew she couldn't stand up to that energy. Now, we felt a little bit of energy in the home we're in now, but she was like, oh, I could deal with this one. Like she just we have the power to filter that energy. Yeah, it's negative, but it's nothing that's going to make us be a coward towards it. And we can't do it. It's just overwhelming. This is going to end in a bad place. You know, she felt that she was like, oh, yeah, we could clean this up real nice. You know, so.
Right. A little bit of sage, a little bit of prayer.
Yeah. Smudge sticks in the house.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Throw some salt in the walkway.
Get your Merkabas and your amethyst and your tiger's eye. And
let us ask you this, Monk, because we're getting ready to close up this podcast. Now you're gonna have to bear with us on this because it's gonna be some tomfoolery.
It is going to be some bullshit purely.
This is the lighter half of the podcast. We got all the serious shit out the way. Now it's time to act like a goddamn fool.
And that's what I like to do.
Hey, how do you feel about monkeys? Let me ask you that. And I want you to just give me your honest opinion on your observation of said species.
Well, my feeling on monkeys is I love monkeys.
Right.
I think they're amazing. I would never have a pet monkey because I know what they can do if they have a bad day.
Yeah.
But
what can they do, Monk? What can said monkey do?
Look, monkeys will disfigure your face is what they will do.
Yeah.
Certain
People
species.
get these little tiny monkeys, the little cute ones.
Spider monkey.
And they bring them home and they have a bad day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You having a bad day.
Chimpanzee will kill you.
Yeah.
A chimp will kill you.
Yeah, I love monkeys. I think they're amazing animals. I actually have a gorilla on my arm.
Okay.
Tattoo. So yeah, I love the species.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me ask you this: have you ever gone to a zoo and watched the monkey habitat? And if so, have you ever seen them throw shit at people?
I have seen monkeys throw shit.
God damn, it's in their repertoire.
It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic. Go on. Did it hit? Did it hit a passerby, or did it hit another monkey?
Yeah. They did it on purpose because they are conscious enough to understand these people are just there for their entertainment.
When you witnessed this atrocity, was the monkey running as he slung his shit, sir?
No, he was slick with it.
Yeah.
It was almost like he snuck it.
Yeah.
Like he was like he wasn't gonna do nothing and it was like
So he was the Drew Brees of monkey business.
Mahomes. He was a Mahomes.
Oh, he was a Mahomes.
So he was a running gun. He was active with it.
Right.
So
kind of like a sidearm, like
yeah. So anybody could have got it. They just didn't know it was coming their way.
You see?
Oh, more than one person got it.
Oh.
It was a slingshot.
So he's shotgunning shit out there. He's got a broader pattern. See, he's just not singling out one person. You see here, he wants everybody to get a sample of his shit.
I like how you love monkeys, but you would never let one in your home.
Right.
No, I do love them. I actually love all animals. I set boundaries when it comes. I wouldn't let a gorilla sit in my living room either because they're most likely. I love them from a distance.
Right. You ain't gonna sit a gorilla in your room and have a stare down competition with them. You know.
Hey, how amazing would that be though if you had a completely calm, civil gorilla that just chilled at the house? How amazing would that be if someone came over and there was just a gorilla sitting on the chair? Just
man.
I think it's possible. I think
Robin Williams did it.
If you raise a gorilla in your home from a baby, the gorilla will only know his environment. I have to believe in this. It will be a well-behaved gorilla. It may have some glitches.
One bad day.
It may have some glitches every now and where it goes, wait, my instinct told me to do this. And slap the shit out of somebody.
Day.
Yeah.
That's a bad day.
It won't slap the shit out of somebody. It'll slap someone's face off.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story I just heard recently. This woman had one of them little pet monkeys. I forget what they're called.
Spider monkey.
No, it wasn't a spider monkey. They're called something else. If I heard the name, I would know.
Okay.
But her and her friend went out and had this. The monkey had been with her the whole life, and the monkey started attacking her. And her friend called on 911, and the monkey was just shredding her face. Actually killed her. It was just a little monkey, a monkey that she raised from birth. Had a bad day.
Good God.
That was it.
See what I'm saying? You can't trust. this is what happens when
They're
you
wild.
lay.
They're still wild animals.
They are. This is what happens when you lay human expectations on a wild animal. However, it can be done because Robin Williams and who was the
Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall raised, what was the Coco, the gorilla Coco. They even got to the furthest of teaching it sign language, and Coco lived a great, peaceful life, and never attacked the owners. But that was a special monkey, and I do believe like female monkeys have more control over their emotions versus you cannot have a silverback in your damn living room trying to watch the Super Bowl. Number one, I'm not coming over, bruh. Especially if he over there holding a Tostito.
Look, if you got a pit bull that you keep in the house, I ain't coming over.
Oh,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Blue Nose, they kind of get a bad rap. Like I've owned a couple.
No. What I'm saying, I was a pit bull owner my whole life. All I'm saying is, when it's someone else's dog, it's like, oh, it's cool. Cool. Sometimes it ain't cool.
It's not.
Sometimes
because
it's not.
that dog has its own personality, and if he having an off day,
Right.
that's your ass, Mr. Postman.
Yeah.
Hey, as a matter of fact, I had a friend that had a dog, a pit bull, and he was playing around, trying to sick him on me, right? And I was just sitting in his house. I'm like, you play too much. And the dog got up and it bit close to, it almost got my nose. It scraped it. It was that close to my face, right? Pit bull. I went home and got my gun and came back. I said, go ahead and get your dog. Dog was nowhere to be found after that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, go get your dog now. We'll see how this is gonna play out.
Yeah.
People play too much with them dogs, man.
Yeah. Look, Monk said, don't play around with them pet bulls in front of me, man. I'll go back and get a tool.
It'll be your ex-dog. It'll be your ex-dog messing around.
Yeah, not everybody is in the light.
Yeah.
So there are some crappy pet owners.
Yeah, well,
I can contest to that.
I'm going to say the zookeepers are crappy pet owners because obviously they cannot control the monkey exhibit.
They can't.
Because they just throwing shit at people.
Yeah, and they should really hand out face shields or
T-shirts.
like disposable gowns if you're going to see said monkey.
At least hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
A paper towel or something.
And I do feel like there should be like a nurse or some kind of something out there saying, hey, look, if monkey shit gets in your mouth and eyes, you might want to see me as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We got to wash this out. You know, people come down with crazy fucking sicknesses and diseases from this, and this is, But you can't sue us. We're providing aid on said monkey adventure.
But to that monkey's point, I mean, how would you feel if you was locked up in the area and people were just coming,
gawk at you,
throwing shit at you, and just making fun of you?
Yeah.
That's universal to a monkey. These monkeys is disrespecting me right now. So here, you want to disrespect me? Take some shit.
Especially if my environment never changed and the only thing that changed were the faces observing me.
Yeah.
I would be like,
in that crazy?
That's wild.
That's wild.
They
I
don't
go
do
to zoos.
Yeah. I don't think monkeys throw shit at people in the wild, but maybe they do.
And you know what? I got to be honest about how I feel about a zoo. The last time we went to the zoo as a family, I just wasn't vibing with the caged animals.
Right. We felt more kind of like depressed for the animal than like actually looking at a tiger close up.
I felt myself like, man, I would just like to see this in the wild. I don't want to see this here, and it's only got maybe a couple of football fields of runway here. Like this thing just, I get learning about them, but National Geographic's did a great idea. You can watch them on TV and learn all about them in their environment, you know. But I just looked at that whole zoo experience and I took that home. I didn't really talk about it, but I was just like, I kind of ain't feeling the zoo no more.
Yeah.
It was just like a really depressing, mood.
Animal jail.
Right.
That's what it is.
Incarcerating anything is just like kind of depressing,
Yeah.
Check this.
Wild animals, they need to be wild.
They need to be wild.
When you go out,
Right.
let them run.
Yeah.
Let them go free. Did you ever see that story about that man that he raised up a lion? I don't know what happened. I think the lion may have been abandoned, but he raised him up from a little cub. Then he released him into the wild, and that lion got its own pack and everything and surviving good. So he went back to try to see if he could find him,
Mm-hmm.
and found the lion. And the lion basically introduced his pride to this guy,
Right.
and was jumping up and playing with him like he was a kid.
Right.
Right.
I saw that.
How, like, what about a lion's mind or just whole thought process where it can store the image and the posture of a man and hold on it for years, and then when that image comes back, it's like, oh,
I know this dude.
that's Pops.
Yeah. Imprinted.
Yeah, yeah.
Imprinted on that line.
I mean, that's crazy.
well, I think any animal can do it. It just depends on the circumstance.
What is it? The manatee can look in your eyes, into your iris, and remember you for the rest of its life. If you ever came back down in the ocean
It'll recognize you.
and ran into that same one, it would know you.
Yeah.
That right there is just mind-boggling.
I like
You
it.
know what the most? Have you ever heard about seals and what the seals do?
No.
Seals save people all the time, drowning people.
Really?
There was a guy that jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and was severely injured, of course, but was sinking, and seals brought him up to the surface. Seals, a lot of times, they will save people that are drowning. They'll actually team up to save people that are drowning. There was a scuba diver that was down at the bottom of the wherever he was scuba diving at, and the seal came and started trying to pull, thinking that this guy was drowning, trying to pull him up, and that didn't work. So the seal left and came back with more people, more seals, and they were all trying to get him up to the surface of the ocean.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Can you imagine these seals are thinking, oh, wait. Oh, there's this guy again. You don't belong down here. Watch, Johnny's going to fuck up.
Yep.
Look at him. I told you now he's drowning. Well, what do you suppose we do?
Yeah, we got to get him.
Might as well get him out of here before Brutus comes. You know, Brutus is the shark.
Yeah.
You know, let's get him out of here. Okay, well, it's probably going to take 5 of us. They do some kind of like imaginary seal whistle. Anyway.
Yep.
And here they all come.
Yep.
Taking old
That
sorry.
seal literally,
Yeah.
that seal literally left and came back with friends.
Yeah.
Trying to help this.
And how did that look?
Yeah. What's that
Hey
communication
guys,
like?
look, that guy, yeah, he's about to drown. You want to help me? Okay, sure, let's go help this guy.
Right.
You know? How can we leave a
The guy
message?
The guy that jumped off the Golden Gate, he said they came and just pushed him up to the surface.
Yeah.
He thought it was a shark. I think he thought it was a shark or something at first, but it was seals pushing him up to the surface of the water so he didn't drown.
I'd probably bite the hell out of him too if I'm the seal, just to tell him, don't do this shit again.
Yeah.
Right. Stop doing it. Stop doing this dumb stuff.
This
Yeah.
mark is for you to stop doing this shit.
Yeah.
If you don't want another bite like this, you
Yeah.
won't come in
Don't
here
do it again. I won't bite your ass like this
Yeah.
again.
But you are definitely going to get a message from me.
Hey, Monk, we usually ask a few questions before we end the podcast. One of them you already told us, which is we like to ask, who are you? I think you pretty much understand that question. But what was like another question we can give him since he's dialed in on that one?
Before I give him that question,
Uh-huh.
you have a book.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, before we close. I was
Okay.
going to get to that.
Okay. Well, you know, the questions I had lined up for Mr. Monk, you can't ask a monk these questions,
This
or
is
it's like
true.
asking ourselves
This is
these
true.
questions.
This is true. What do you ask a monk?
What do you ask a monk? That's
Here we go. This is what you ask a monk. In my mind, this is what I would ask a monk.
be careful now.
Monk, you know who I am as of what we have just spoke about as this small conversation. You don't know anyone else that's watching because you haven't had that conversation. What would you tell the people if you could just give them a little bit of a level up of enlightenment?
What would I tell the people the level up. Well, what I always tell all people is everything that you're searching for is in you already. It's within you. There's nothing outside of yourself that's going to help you to level up. Everything's there. You're perfect, whole, and complete, and you don't need to search anywhere.
I like
Damn,
that.
you got me thinking on that already. That's what a monk is supposed to do. God damn it, he's supposed to leave you in contemplation.
Yeah.
Just when you thought you had it figured
That's
out.
why I don't be. That's why I don't be asking monks no questions.
Look here,
It only leads to more fucking questions.
it does. Well, especially if you're trying to just have this endless journey.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's never going to end, but you're always scratching at the heels
Right.
to get more.
Right. Yeah.
Before we close this podcast, Monk has a wonderful book that I have not yet read personally. We only found out about it yesterday. But Monk, is there anything you want to plug and put out there for the people so they can reach you and just see what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can reach me on my website, monketernal.com. And my book is called Love Over Fear, A Guide to Peace and Purpose. And it's on Amazon. Love Over Fear, A Guide to Peace and Purpose. And it's a guidebook. So it gives you instruction on what you can do to change your life.
Yeah.
To remind you of what you already know. Because we all know. We just need to be reminded from time to time of what it is and who we are.
Right. We'll put that link in the description. Maybe the editor will put the book somewhere right there or somewhere there.
And thank you again.
You see it? You see the book?
And thank you again for coming on our show. We do our show different. We don't write anything out. We like to just come off the top of the dome with our questions and have a natural interaction with someone.
A raw interaction.
And it, to us, it's a very rare thing to see. Everything we see nowadays are rehearsed and overstudied for the most part, in our eyes. So we just like to have.
I didn't tell you all. I used to have a radio show in Oakland.
Oh, really?
And it was just like your show. It was actually on the radio in the studio, and it was called Conversations with Monk. And you can still find episodes out there, but it's just like what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You bring someone on and you let it flow.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think to me, it's always a scary thing, but it's always fun.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know where shit's gonna go.
Yeah.
Don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know what. Yeah. You don't know what you're going to get. So.
And there was one last thing I wanted to ask, and I totally forgot to ask this. And I would kick myself in the ass if we didn't get this out. You wrote a book, and certain things have happened for you, to you. And the one question I wanted to ask is, to anybody that is suffering from any addiction, anything out there, or who just don't have a belief in anything. And if you even try to approach certain individuals, they're immediately standoffish and they don't want to hear anything. How does Monk approach these people and just get the door open? How do you even get them to accept a conversation?
You can't make them do anything.
Yeah, for some people, their path is just writing it out. So you're only going to receive what you're ready to receive. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that can change that. So many times during my life, when my mom was like, I'm worried about you, you remind me of your father, which basically was saying to me, look, you're going to die like your father. I wasn't trying to hear it. So there's something within you as the individual. Then when you're ready to receive, like I said, we have messages that are in front of our face every single day, all day long. But we have to be able to receive that message. So the best way I can do it when it comes to people like that is to, not out loud, but internally, just send them love and hope that they get what they need to get in order to get through whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
and just love them. There's energy, healing energy in just our thoughts and our prayers alone. If we're really sincere about something, if we want somebody to get what they need to get, we can offer that up without saying anything to them.
Yep.
We can be that loving support for them. We can pray for them, not in a sense of the prayer that we see nowadays when we're begging for something, but just holding them in love, and they may have some understanding. They may be able to heal from the pain that they're going through, because it's all pain based.
Right.
If you're an addict, it's because you're dealing with a lot of pain. And then leave yourself available, right? If someone says, I don't want to hear what you, okay, well, here's my number. If you ever want to talk about anything.
Right. Yep.
I'm here.
Yep.
So it sounds like you might have approached a person that was a dead end, or just a lifeless wall.
It just wasn't ready yet.
He just wasn't ready. He or
For
she.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people, you have to accept that some people are going to go out on that, right? They're gonna die in their addiction.
Right.
That's their path. You can't save anybody.
At any point, did it ever make you want to give up and go, I can't try and teach people no more. I'm just, this is not for me.
It actually made me even more wanting to help people. It sent me in the opposite direction. I believe that everybody, just like you were saying earlier, where we chose to come in here and do something to level up. Well, some of these addicts, I'll call them, they chose a hard path to really, really level up. And sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's too much. They bit off more than they can chew. So they're going to have to come back and do it again. But there's always light there, no matter what path that you chose initially. Mm-hmm. There's always a way through. There's always a way to heal through it.
I like that.
Me too.
So if y'all watching, I hope you're listening.
Who taught you to hate, Monk?
Who taught me to hate?
Yeah.
Who taught me to hate?
Did we just fuck up a monk?
No, we didn't.
I think we just fucked up a monk.
You impatient right now.
Oh, okay.
No, nobody taught me to hate.
I was trying to get a win.
I just learned. I learned that from other people that hate.
Yeah.
Right. You learn. No one sits you down and say, unless you're a part of some organization that's what they teach. But no one taught me that.
Right.
You learn that along the way.
Yeah.
You don't even know what that is. Right.
Right.
This extreme dislike for something that you really have no control of. It's like you just something that you're really not accepting at the highest levels. Like, I can't accept this at all. Matter of fact, not only can I not accept this, I hope whatever is going on here, I hope they die. I hope something bad happens to them.
Yeah.
Right. So hate is not even our true nature. Love is our true nature. There's no babies that hate. Mm-hmm. There's no babies that come in hating.
Yeah.
No, they're taught by their environment and their experiences how to do this. Maybe someone did something to them that was horrible as a kid, and that brought that type of energy up.
Right.
As far as being the victim. And even with that, people struggle their whole life with something that happened as when they were a child. And that's not being in the now. And in order to get past that and stop reintroducing this pain to you every single day, you have to heal from that. You have to be able to forgive, not because you're saying what they did wasn't wrong, but to say, I'm no longer going to suffer from this experience that happened 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm releasing it up to something higher. I'm no longer going to suffer for something that someone else has done.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're suffering for something someone else has done. You're allowing them to do the same thing over and over and over to you every single day. It's like it happened today.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not even hate from, like what he said, from this person or that person. It's really from us. We teach ourselves how to hate. That's the more broader picture.
It's reflection.
It's reflection of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Monk, no more questions for you.
Yeah.
Because you just give us.
Yeah, you think you just got it all figured out, don't you?
Jewels after jewels,
don't you?
Sir.
Huh? You think you got it all figured out?
Huh? You don't know the
I
answer,
don't have it
Sway.
all figured out.
Yeah.
I don't have it all figured out.
Oh no. Yes, you do.
No, I don't. No, I don't. And
Hey,
I don't. It's like these are just my opinions.
Yeah.
Just my opinions.
and everybody can respect a
Sound
good
like
opinion.
good opinions because I think you got it all figured out.
Hey y'all, like this damn here channel
Subscribe.
and ring the damn bell.
You got to ring the bell.
I'll never do it again because the editor doesn't like it. For whatever reason, I'm not allowed to ring the bell.
I can ring the bell. You want to ring that bell, Monk? Just go ahead and put your fingers up.
How you
Yeah.
ring it?
Just like that.
Oh,
yeah. There you
Hey,
go.
the Patreon is up. Thank you to all the Patreon members who help support the podcast. You too could be a Patreon member, just so you know, and donate to the damn cause.
Yeah, we on TikTok, Instagram. TikTok's just getting started.
I think we on Hulu, Netflix,
Yeah.
all the major
Yeah.
streaming sites.
Yeah.
That's a damn lie.
No, we not. We not at all. No.
But hey, peace, y'all.
Yeah. Peace, peace. More hair grease, even for your mother's niece.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
Right?
That's a
I
lot.
don't know what
that's a lot
that
of
shit
grease.
means, but damn it sounds appropriate.
Yeah, we gone. Peace.
Peace. I don't even know why I said that shit.
Y'all are amazing.